Chapter 1. The Obsession. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled in the rolling hills, there lived a boy named Max. Max was an ordinary boy in many ways, but he had an extraordinary passion for video games. He would spend every free moment glued to his computer, battling dragons, exploring mystical realms, and conquering virtual worlds. Max's room was a sanctuary of screens and consoles, where he felt most at home. His obsession with video games worried his parents. They constantly encouraged him to go outside, make friends, and experience the real world. But Max was captivated by the pixelated adventures that seemed more real to him than anything beyond his bedroom walls. Chapter 2. The Mysterious Console. One evening, Max stumbled upon a peculiar old console at a garage sale. It was dusty and battered, but something about it called out to him. The elderly man selling it warned Max, "This is no ordinary gaming console, young man. It's rumored to have magical powers." Max chuckled and paid the man a few dollars for the device, thinking it was just a novelty. That night, as Max hooked up the console to his TV and began to play, he noticed that the game was unlike any he had ever experienced. The graphics were astonishingly realistic, and the controller felt as if it were an extension of his own body. He was immersed in a fantastical realm filled with towering castles, enchanted forests, and mythical creatures. Chapter 3. The Unexpected Journey. As Max played the game into the late hours of the night, something extraordinary happened. His surroundings began to change. The room around him slowly transformed into the game's mystical world. At first, Max thought he was imagining things, but as he looked around, he realized he was no longer in his room but in the very game he was playing. Max was now a character in the game, standing in a lush forest with a sword in his hand. Birds sang overhead, and the warm breeze rustled the leaves of ancient trees. His heart raced with excitement and fear. He was no longer a boy controlling a character. He was the character. Chapter 4. The quest Max had to adapt quickly to this new reality. He soon met other in-game characters who welcomed him and explained the situation. The game's plot revolved around defeating an evil sorcerer who threatened to plunge the world into darkness. Max, now a hero within the game, had a critical role to play in this quest. Over the course of his adventure, Max formed bonds with his newfound companions, learned the lore of the world, and honed his combat skills. As the group journeyed deeper into the game world, they faced challenges, solved puzzles, and encountered breathtaking landscapes and creatures. Chapter 5. The Realization. With each passing day in the game, Max felt a growing sense of purpose and fulfillment. He realized that his time spent gaming had prepared him for this extraordinary journey. His gaming skills were invaluable in this new world, and he was no longer the boy who had once been confined to his room. Max discovered that the mysterious console was a doorway to a world where his gaming expertise had a real-world impact. He also understood that the game's magical world was connected to his own. As he grew as a person in this virtual realm, he felt himself changing in the real world as well. Chapter 6. The Final Battle. The day of the final battle against the evil sorcerer had come. Max and his friends faced incredible odds, but they were determined to save the world. Max used every skill he had acquired through years of gaming to outwit the sorcerer and ultimately defeat him. As the evil sorcerer crumbled away into nothingness, the game world began to fade. Max found himself back in his room, holding the dusty old console in his hands. It was no longer a magical portal. It was just a worn-out piece of technology. Chapter 7. A New Beginning. Max's life was forever changed by his extraordinary adventure. He had grown as a person, both in the real world and the virtual one. His passion for video games was no longer an obsession, but a source of inspiration and connection. He continued to play games, but now he also balanced his time with real-world experiences. Max had learned that the two worlds were not so different after all, and the skills and relationships he built in the virtual world could have a profound impact on his life outside the screen. Max realized that sometimes, when you pursue your passions with dedication, they can open doors to amazing and unexpected adventures.